Hello, everyone. My name is Brian Mitchell, and welcome to another episode of Living from Sunday to Sunday with Pastor B. I have a question for you. Are you a hypocrite? You're like, Brian, wait. That's a really crazy question. I'm as real as they come. What you see is what you get. Well, are you though? Do you hide behind a representative, or are you comfortable presenting your true self? Let's talk about it. In Matthew chapter 6, Jesus gives a story about the Pharisees and how the Pharisees were very persistent in pursuing a representative and presenting a representative to the world when their lifestyle privately didn't match up to the public persona that they were presenting. Jesus talks about how whenever you pray, don't pray like the Pharisees, who, when they're in the streets, they lift up their voice for the sole intention of being noticed. Whenever they fast, they make themselves so downtrodden so that they bring attention to themselves, and that people have an opinion of them that's contrary to their true selves. How many times do we hide behind a person that we represent? Do we wear masks? Are we comfortable in our makeup so much to the point to where if we didn't have it, we wouldn't know who we are? Well, there are a couple of ways to identify whether or not you are a hypocrite. If you tell yourself what you think about me is more important than what God knows about me, you might be a hypocrite. What people think, again, people's thoughts and opinions are not reality. But if I value a person's thought and a person's opinion more than what God knows about me, God sees everything. He is there under the covers. He's there when no one is around. If what he knows is of lesser value than what people think, you might be a hypocrite. Secondly, if I only seek the approval of man, I might be a hypocrite. If I'm addicted to the pat on the back, if I put myself in positions to receive, to do good things just so that I can receive accolades and applause, you have the traits of a hypocrite. If I'm willing to compromise who I am to become something that I'm not, to please other people, I might be a hypocrite. If I lie, if I cheat, if I am a trickster and there's no guilt, it's almost like it's second nature, you're developing the traits of a hypocrite. One thing we have to understand is that true change only comes whenever we are able to expose and see ourselves as we truly are. If we're able to be honest about our dirt, right? If we're able to embrace our flaws. Because here's the thing. We see ourselves much differently than what God does. God doesn't need the fluff. He doesn't need the mask. He doesn't need the false persona. He loves us as we truly are. Whenever he created us, he understood that our personalities, our thoughts, all of these things, whenever we first were born, are going to be shaped in sin, right? So they're going to have a skewed look to them. But my sin doesn't scare God away. He loves us so much that he's created a way for us to be approved in his sight. And the main thing he wants us to do is just confess our faults. We have to face our flaws. We have to face our failures. We have to face those things that God doesn't like. Because if we can face them, if we can admit them, then God is faithful, which means that he will always forgive us. And he's just, so he's going to use a fair means to do so. He's faithful and just to forgive us. He loves us so much that there's literally nothing that we can do or will ever do that will remove his hand from us. He will always present himself to us, open arms, waiting for us to come to ourselves like the prodigal son and come back home and admit that we're wrong. It's important, though, that we admit when we're wrong, because any sin that goes unaddressed becomes a stronghold. And then those strongholds become difficult to overcome. It can be several years of circling around the same issue, circling around the same mountain, so to speak, with no real change because we've not confessed this sin. Eventually, exposure happens. No matter how long you try to lie, no matter how long you try to cheat, no matter how many lies on top of lies that you have to tell yourself to keep everyone believing you to be this one person, if you are basing your life on the lie, the truth always comes out. And typically, the higher that we exalt ourselves, the farther we fall. But I'm grateful for the fall, because it is in God's grace that he doesn't leave us where we are. And even after we fall, he's there to catch us and say, hey, I love you. I understand that you thought you were better than you were, but I'm not going to leave you where you are. Let's work together. I love you. And let's just grow and let's be better. So now, again, his exposure is predicated, and he has a plan for us to draw us back to him. All right. Now, one thing I don't understand: why would we put confidence in people when people are fickle? You know that the same person who roots for you to succeed can be the same person that's planning your downfall. We build people up in our society waiting for them to fail. But yet some of us who are people pleasers, we'll do everything, we'll give up, we'll compromise who we are to please people who really are never satisfied. Yet we have a God who is waiting with open arms, who is faithful, who does not change, who accepts us the way we are, doesn't judge us, doesn't condemn us. Run to God who is safe, who is consistent, who you can always count on, versus trying to change yourself into being someone who may never ever like you, who may never ever truly love you. All right. So, hidden hypocrisy. What are those things that we've dug away and stored behind our walls that we don't want to address? That we say we're okay, but really deep down we've been struggling with them for years. Let's confess our faults. Let's admit where we've sinned, and let's get help. Right? If it's counseling, if it's just crying out to God, say, God, this is who I am. I get angry quickly. It's hard for me to forgive. I hold grudges. Whatever it is, God's faithful and just. All right. For my question for the day, what is that area in your life that you're ashamed of? What is that one thing that if people found out that, it would be super embarrassing that you deal with and struggle with? Write it down in the journal, pray and say, God, help me with this. Take this away. Because God wants us to be free, and he wants us to be our authentic selves. I hope that this video blessed you. Like, share, and subscribe to this channel, and share it with someone. And until next time, thank you guys for tuning in. Be blessed.